So continuing from the last lecture that we discussed on research design, and we also uh, covered this most of the, I'm just bypassing those things. We were discussing about the research design classification in last lecture, where we talked about the types of research design. So the broader research design that we discussed about were exploratory, or which you called formulative research design. Then second type was descriptive and diagnostic research design, and then experimental research design, causal and experimental research design. If you look at these descriptive and causal and experimental research design, uh, one thing I would like to make it clear that when we talk about experimental research design, so experimental research design simply means that when you have an experimental setup. So experimental setup means it may be sometime you are doing something in your uh, limited and designed or constraints. Within your constraints you fixed everything as you plan, and on other side you make no general open. Or say for example, we discussed in last lecture that controlled research design. Controlled research design means where you have the control of various factors which can remove or reduce the effect of extraneous factors. Now, experimental or non-experimental, in non-experimental you do not have controlled research design or controlled research group, whereas in experimental research you have two groups simultaneously. One is controlled and other is uncontrolled or normal. So control means, say for example, I take a very simple example. You want to study about the effect of food on your concentration in class. So everybody can understand that after lunch the students become some lethargic, or their concentration in class reduces. So there is one factor which may be independent factor. Independent variable means the food, and dependent variable may be your activity or your level of concentration. Now if you want to study, if you want to make an experiment to study that to what extent this food is correlated with the concentration level in class of students, then you can have a non-experimental design. Means you select 50 students at the same time and you experiment with them. So it is non-experimental. Non-experiment means there is no control group, so you may not have a comparison. Now experimental research design simply means you choose 25 students in a one group and 25 students in one group, another group. You say A group and B group. Now A group, you ask them to have a food in lunch, and then after lunch you observe those 25 students with food, and B group without food. So same experiment, same research is done on A group, which is controlled group, means you are controlling them with food. On B group, where you have normal uncontrolled group. So in A group and B group you need to study that how much deviation or difference or concentration level that differs from A group and B group. So we talk about the experimental research. So in this experimental, you can have informal experimental, you can have formal experimental. We will discuss this causal and experimental research design in coming lectures. But today I am interested to look at the basic and fundamental understanding about the exploratory and descriptive. Once you understand whether you go for exploratory research design or you go for descriptive research design, then it would become easy for you to understand the basic fundamental classification of research design, and it will help you in choosing correct research design for your research. Maybe your research project in your fourth semester, or maybe in any particular industry. If your boss asks you to conduct research, then you need to understand whether you should go for exploratory or formulative research design, or you should adapt descriptive or diagnostic research design. So, you need to understand the fundamentals of these two basically. And the third one we will discuss in coming lectures. But today's my focus would be to make you clear about what is exploratory or formulative and what is descriptive and diagnostic. So, just look at this. When we talk about exploratory research design or formulative research design, before I go this, let us take what exploratory research design is. It is basically studies undertaken when a new area is being investigated, or when the problem is unknown, or there is a little awareness about the area of interest or problem. So you need to investigate, you need to discover. So objective is to discovery of the insights. And when you use exploratory, usually at the initial stage of marketing research process. Say for example, new product is to be introduced in the market, and you are asked to go for marketing research that about the overall new product. So it may be that you adapt secondary source of data. You may conduct expert survey, you may conduct pilot survey. So these may be methods of exploring market. And the sample and question, the sample should be kept small and open-ended. Open-ended means you cannot give choice. Sometimes what happens that you say which particular food you like, and you give four choices: samosa, then dokla, and kachori, and this, none of the above. So you give four choices. So this four choices means you are not exploring things, rather you are you want to get descriptive things, because you are putting it in a close-ended questions. When you are exploring things, formulative means you want to formulate problem first, and to formulate problem first you need to explore things. Say for example, at random something happened and your sale goes down. Now you don't know the problem, you know what is happening. Now you want to ask that why people are not purchasing your product. So when you ask question to them that why people are not purchasing your product, so you cannot give choice. You have to make open-ended questions. And you know that the exploratory research data that comes, that is not conclusive. You cannot conclude, because conclusion may be possible when you have four choices: samosa and dhokla and kachori and this. So you can conclude that dhokla was highest, you know, top preference. But when you have open ended, so someone will give samosa, someone will give you chapati, someone will give you chaat pakodi, someone will give you pani puri, someone will give you biscuit, someone will give you even salad. So you cannot conclude because it is open ended. Every respondent is having free to answer. Whereas your descriptive research design is something different. When you know the problem, if problem is known to you, but you want to describe the problem, you want to describe the characteristics of the problem, you want to describe the details. So when to conduct after exploratory research being done or from the first stage of research means once you have formulated your problem, that this is the problem, then you want to learn about the detail about the problem, the probable reasons of the problem. So it may be a large representative sample and descriptive give you the conclusive result. Now look at this. Exploratory or formulative simply means that the problem is not known to you. You have to formulate problem, right? That simply means that you don't know your product sale is going down or your product sale is why your product sale is going down. Descriptive, you want to investigate the reasons, diagnose the problem. When doctor diagnose, you say that, sir, I am having stomach issue. So the problem you tell them, then doctor start diagnose it. That what was your what is your food habit, what food you had taken last night, where you moved, had you being in a party or like that. So the problem diagnosis that requires the rigid design. There is a fixed formula for that. They will ask for your food, they will ask for your food habit, they will ask for your movement, party, and for stomach problem or any bowel disorder, they will ask for fix certain patterned question to you. But if you say for example in Haryalvi language, like if you go through with the many people of Haryana, you talk, they'll say kuch kuch hota hai. Now they don't tell that पेट में होता है या सर में होता है या कहाँ, but something is not feeling well. If you ask to doctor, sir, I'm not अच्छा नहीं लग रहा, कुछ गुड़गुड़ हो रहा है. So then there is a problem, a different approach. Then doctor will start asking you just to formulate the problem. Doctor will ask all questions. क्या क्या नहीं अच्छा लग रहा है, किधर किधर नहीं अच्छा लग रहा है, कहाँ कहाँ नहीं अच्छा लग रहा है, अनयूजुअल कहाँ लग रहा है, पेट में लग रहा है, सर में लग रहा है, टांग में लग रहा है, मन में लग रहा है. So thing is that then doctor will not tell you that what you had eaten. No choice doctor will give. Doctor will ask. Doctor will give you total freedom to speak freely. That means unstructured instrument to collect data. There is no structured instrument to collect data. Look at in exploratory. Whereas in case of descriptive or diagnostic, there is a structured and well thought out instrument for collection of data. Doctor will ask a pattern fixed number of questions, whether you go from one doctor to second to third to fourth. Likewise, in your projects, when you join a company and you go for any research, then you know, if your problem is that in Kanpur area, product A is not doing well and sale is continuously declining. So the problem is known to you that sale is declining and in Kanpur area. So you have fixed structured in instruments to investigate that, to diagnose that why sale is declining in Kanpur. To diagnose it, you need a structured and instrument for collecting data. But if you do not know whether sale is declining or increasing, suppose you have to introduce a new product, you don't know whether sale will, in next 1 month, what will happen to this. So you will ask open-ended questions, unstructured instruments to collect data. And in that case, no pre-planned design for analysis. When unstructured data is coming, so you cannot pre-plan for analysis. Say for example, the last example we discussed, that if your doctor asks for one thing, that how, if the problem is of stomach, then doctor will give you choice that had you this A, B, C, three probable reason, and ask. But if you say that something is not appearing to be, I'm not feeling good or well, then open-ended question. So it may comes all unknown answers. So you cannot have a pre-planned design for that. Pre-planned design is possible only for descriptive. And when you have this unstructured collection of data and no pre-planned design, so obviously you will use non-probability sampling design. Whereas in case of this, you have probability sampling design. That means, say for example, when you know the problem, then you choose for random sampling. Random sampling means, say for example, company says that my sale is declining in Kanpur region. So you will make a probability sampling, random sampling amongst the customers, because you want to investigate the reason. So you cannot use a purposive design, or you cannot choose that yes, A customer I will take into my research, B customer I will take into my research. So you cannot have selective. You have to take random. So your probability sampling design is very clear. But here you have non-probability sampling design, judgmental design, purposive. You want to have a purpose, so intentionally you decide that yes, this is the group that intentionally you want to ask them about and open-ended questions. So in case of analyzing this structured answers, you can have a pre-planned statistical design for analysis. That means you can have your error test tool fixed. You can have your data compilation fixed. You can have your analysis tool fixed for diagnostic, but not for exploratory. So for exploratory, you cannot use the pre-planned design. After that, you decide what to do. And similarly, if you talk about the operational design, so you cannot say that no fixed decisions about the operational procedures. That means when you start collecting data from the market in case of exploratory design, so you don't have, no prefixed decisions are there in operational procedure. That means you'll take first to this person, then second, then third, then fourth, then fifth, like this. But in case of diagnostic, there is a advanced fixed procedure of diagnosing. That means, say for example, you have a stomach problem. So initially for 2 days, doctor will give you one, and that decision is already operational procedure is fixed. Whereas in case of exploratory, this operational procedure is not fixed. So my point is that when to apply this exploratory and formulative itself includes that you don't know the problem and you have to formulate problem. Very clear. And since you don't know the problem and you need to formulate problem, so your design has to be flexible. Flexible means you will not pinpoint on a particular information or data. You try to maximum information that you get. So you cannot stop someone, so you have to be flexible. Whereas in case of your descriptive or diagnostic, your design is rigid, no here and there. The fixed pattern procedure has to be followed. You can take so many examples. I tell you what happens if you know the problem and you apply exploratory, you are going to be in a problem very soon, because the problem is known and you are making it flexible design. You are using flexible structure. If you know the problem, so you cannot waste research tools or analysis tools for irrelevant or unnecessary data that you collect. So you cannot go for flexible design. For descriptive or diagnostic, you have to be fixed. So my point of focusing in today's lecture is you must understand that exploratory and formulative research design, research tool, statistical tool, sampling tools, observational tool, they are entirely different than descriptive or diagnostic. Now in exploratory you don't have types, but in descriptive you have cross-sectional method and longitudinal, two types of descriptive analysis. Now cross-sectional means, say for example, if you say that cross-sectional means, you can say that over the same period of time you observe the same group of people and you take data. Whereas longitudinal simply means that same group of people are observed at different points in time as they grow. Say for example, maybe that you want to study effect of some factor on human behavior. So you can study today on different people, cross-sectional people, and then try to get the reasons. But longitudinal method is that when you study same group, say for example, uh, if I study on 20 years age group bracket or 21, 22, so I will study my MBA 30 students, and ask some question about the effect of some factors on their behavior. Then after 10 years, again I ask to same people same question, and then see what is the difference. So Same time, if I ask to two groups or same groups of people about that effect of one factor, say for example I say that yes, uh, going for a movie is good for you know youth class, or so today your answer may differ your answer after 10 years. So longitudinal means when a group is studies today and the same a group is studied after 10 years, and then answer is looked into. Whereas cross sectional is same group is studies, a group is studied, observed today at only one time. So this way descriptive research design can be you know a very purposive. The purpose of that design is very clear, objective is very clear. You want to know characteristics, you want to know reasons of the problems. So I'm just stopping this lecture here, and we will continue that the third, causal and experimental research, in coming lectures, so that you do not get confused between this part and the next experimental part.